My parents have always been adrenaline junkies. Before I was born, they climbed Everest, went parachuting and skydiving, and even hiked near an active volcano. So, even after they decided to settle and have a kid, they would still occasionally go on adventures and take me along with them. That could seem a little too extreme for some other parents, but it was the norm for me growing up. I was about 6 when they decided to go on a bike tour around Japan. I sat in a special baby bike seat on my mom's bicycle, while my dad had a backpack with all the essentials that we might need on the road. We would stop in different cities and little villages, seeing all the places of interest and exploring another culture. To be honest, I don't really remember this trip vividly, except for one day. We were in a small town at a local fair or something like that. I honestly don't remember what it was, but it was very festive, colorful, and exciting. There were street musicians that performed some variations of traditional music. At least, that's how it sounded to me. There was a small parade of colorfully dressed people, and, of course, there were multiple candy and toy stands. Those naturally caught and kept all of my attention. I begged my parents to get me something, until my mom finally gave me some local cash to buy myself some treats. They stayed near the musicians while I rushed to the stands. "We'll wait for you here, honey. Don't take too long," I remember her yelling as I was running away. I remember how I'd been running from one stand to another, overwhelmed by a variety of exotic and unknown to me candy bars, lollipops, and sweets in all different colors and shapes. It was so exciting that I completely lost track of time and got myself totally turned around. When I finally chose some cookies that were shaped like little fish and looked around, I realized that I had no idea where my parents were. I took the bag with cookies and ran towards the direction where I thought I came from. I was tired and hungry, and I ran around the fair in circles until I got completely lost. Not knowing what to do anymore, I just sat down on a bench. I noticed that I was still holding the bag with cookies in my hand. I opened up the bag and started eating. They tasted weird, but nice, and that cheered me up, as tasty food usually does. When I was done, I started thinking about what I should do next. I didn't have a cell phone, and even if I had one, I didn't know my parents' local phone number, so I passed on the idea of asking somebody for a phone. I didn't know the way to the hotel or its name. All the city's signs were in Japanese. The logical thing would have been to ask adults for help, but I wasn't sure any of the locals would speak English, and I was weirdly shy to even try. "What should I do?" I whispered to myself. I decided that my only chance was to find someone that would definitely speak English. Another tourist, for example. And it seemed logical that most tourists would be in the center of town, where all the main places of interest were located. I took a careful look at the road signs. I didn't understand a word, obviously, but I understood the direction that most of them were pointing in. I memorized one sign that seemed bigger and therefore more important than the rest, and I followed it whenever I saw it. Soon enough, I was in the main square with some royal palace that we had visited that morning, before I got lost. I looked around and noticed a Caucasian couple who were examining a city map. I came closer to them, trying to hear what language they were speaking. You can only imagine my relief when I heard the familiar sounds of English. I immediately approached them, explained the situation, and asked for help. They turned out to be a very nice and helpful couple from Chicago. Not only did they contact the police to let them know about me, but they also waited until the police contacted my parents, who were freaking out and had already tried to report me missing. And they stayed with me until my parents arrived to pick me up. In fact, my parents are still close friends with them. They would occasionally travel with us to some exotic and beautiful places. And as for me, ever since that day, I was so terrified to get lost in a foreign country again that on all of our trips, I would never want to be away from them or let them out of my sight, even for a second.